Football on the Central Coast has been played with pride and passion since 1952, when my father, Pat Morley, was the inaugural president of the Entrance Football Club, the very first football club on the coast. It has been about persevering the tough times, desperate tackles, and a battle for recognition that has created a new heartland for football in this country. We took a moment to interview a range of local icons to hear what football means to them. These stories and countless more typify the true spirit of football on the coast and will set the scene for chapters that are yet to be written.
I started when I first moved up on the coast, started playing for the Coasties and in the rep program there in NPL1. Knew a few guys, Dale Eggleton, Andrew Ollier. Been here ever since. Back then, in the early days, they were very physical sides, very competitive, well drilled, well organised. It was always a tough road trip up here, so I was like, when I first moved up, it was exciting to sort of try and obviously get spots in the team and be part of that and further develop my football. Yeah, some of the players that I got to enjoy playing with and obviously knew a little bit about my time in Sydney playing against them, obviously Mark Drysdale, Craig Thompson, Nathan Byrne, Kevin Schneider, Andrew Clark, Damien Brown, who obviously those two went on and played for the Mariners and had good careers in football. So it was exciting. We had good times. We were coached by Alan Burke at the time. But just those boys and stuff, the fun, the change rooms, the banner, which was back then, it was just rife in and around it and all that, bit of fun and a little bit more serious now and a little bit more professional at all levels. And so it was, those were really fun memories and obviously quite successful as well. I think my first year in 1997 was obviously a big achievement. We fell short at the last hurdle, the last game of the season. I can remember we played Leichhardt at Plume and we had to win. Fortunately, we got beat. Would have put us in the semi-finals, but just obviously some of the boys that we played, as I mentioned earlier, with Brownie and Clarkey and Drysdale, Dave Fitzsimmons obviously rings a bell. He was in goals and very strong and competitive. And then for the Coastie sides early, how competitive they were. They had a real good mateship in the change room. I think that's my biggest memories, and even when I first came here, that was one thing that I really enjoyed. Like, it was, everyone got on, there was lots of banter, and so when you went out and played, and it just became easy and everyone wanted to play for each other, they'd die for their mate. And I think that obviously transitioned in, especially early doors with us, when the Mariners first came in as well, with Laurie and Fergie and Alex Tobin, those type of guys coming in and driving that strong culture. And it was just the change rooms were so strong and there was definitely competitiveness at training, but not to the point where, you were unhappy for your mate to succeed. Everyone was really happy for guys. And I can remember when Damien and Clarkey both went to the National League, and then obviously Clarkey had an opportunity to go overseas to Hong Kong. Like, everyone was genuinely happy for him. There was no jealousy or anything around that. And that's one thing that I could honestly say was probably the strongest. The bond and the mateship that they had was incredible, and it sort of continued. And even to today, I think it's still there, watching some of the young kids come through the academy. And I know the landscape's changed a little bit, but you've been in and around that sort of environment, you see it, that they get on really well. And I think that's half the battle these days. If you're happy for your own success and for your mate's success, I think that all goes well for long-term success of everyone. Probably the best player that obviously I got to play with and obviously play against as well at different times when he moved to Sydney was probably Damien Brown. I have to say, like, he was really good, but there's the list is long. You could go through a list of names. You said Andrew Clark was always a very strong player. He had assets that some people, with his fitness and his strength, and obviously that's showing now in his strength and conditioning and what he's done in the A-League and with the Socceroos now. But probably Damien was head and shoulders. From the Coastie point of view and the Central Coast players, Jess Van Stratton, I got the opportunity to play with him when he was first coming through as a 15 or 16-year-old. You sort of always knew that he was destined for some good things as well. So I can remember probably at the end of the 99 season, I got invited to the Killarney presentation just to hand out some awards. I was captain of the Coasties at the time, and they wanted me to come down and hand out a few awards and that with the junior presentation, then got invited to the senior presentation across the road at the entrance leagues. I think one conversation led to another, and next thing you know I was on the committee at Killarney, and I ended up signing for Killarney in 2001, and we won the league and got promoted into the Premier League, which was good. So then had a couple of great years here playing for Killarney in 02 and 03. Then the format of the competitions changed, and then I ended up playing for Central Coast again. True what they say about their achievements, what they've done over the years and stuff like that, and how they've gone about that. I can remember in the early days, and I think again you look at that mateship that we talk about even with the Coasties and even with the local clubs and the local precinct of the football community. The football on the Central Coast has an amazing culture. Like, people come here and they see the local football and how well it's supported and how well embraced it is. And I think that can still transition again back to the Mariners, with the A-League and stuff. And I think people generally believe in the Mariners, and I think they generally believe that they can, I think for the badge, they can really drive home a new culture and a new beginning, a new dawn. Really brings home what football means to the coast, that represents the Central Coast. Matty Simon will drive that hard, Stadge will drive that hard, Nazar, all the coaching staff. And I think that once the players get on board and really buy into it, and I think with so many young players coming into the team and some new players, I think they'll learn about what the badge means, not only to the club, but obviously to the community, and that will transfer into some good results and some good performances. And then I think we'll see that the community really start to get back behind the Mariners again in a positive way.